Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to TalkingCrowsBlog.com and our headlines for the day, June 21st through 22nd, 2016. The most important thing that happened today is that the Constitution seems to be eroding before our very grasps. Sonia Sotomayor, Supreme Court Justice, gave quite a dissenting view based on what happened. The 5-3 vote on Monday, the Supreme Court ruled that the courts need not throw out evidence of a crime even if an arresting police officer used unlawful tactics to obtain evidence. But the low-profile case will be more likely remembered for the fierce and personal dissent from Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who said the decision would exacerbate illegal stops of minorities. In reality, when considering this, we have to wonder, is it just about illegal stops, or is it also about the potential to where evidence can be obtained illegally by police, intending on finding a guilty person, but what happens when the person is innocent and the evidence is obtained illegally? Is the police officer charged with committing a crime? That is the big question. But I did want to include what Justice Sonia Sotomayor said in her dissent. By legitimizing the conduct that produces this double consciousness, this case tells everyone, white and black, guilty and innocent, that an officer can verify your legal status at any time. It says that your body is subject to invasion, while courts excuse the violation of your rights. It implies that you are not a citizen of a democracy, but a subject of a carceral state, just waiting to be catalogued. We must not pretend that the countless people who are routinely targeted by police are isolated. They are canaries in the coal mine, whose deaths, civil and literal, warn us that no one can breathe in this atmosphere. They are the ones who recognize that unlawful police stops corrode all our civil liberties and threaten all of our lives. Until their voices matter too, our justice system will continue to be anything but. I dissent. The words of Justice Sonia Sotomayor. On this day, the day after, we lose one more fragment of our Constitution. In the news, TEPCO, yes, that's right, the Fukushima incident. Everyone suspected it was a cover-up. The majority of people seriously thought that there was a cover-up of the Fukushima meltdown and were accused of being quote-unquote conspiracy theorists, accusing TEPCO of covering up the Fukushima meltdown. But luckily today, an article in Zero Hedge came out, and yes, the article states, back in 2011, whenever anyone accused Japan's energy company TEPCO and the government of covering up the scale of severity of the Fukushima nuclear disaster, they were promptly accused of being conspiracy theorists. After all, the argument went, no serious organization would dare to do that, especially when millions of people's lives were at stake. Today, over 5 years later, we got confirmation that yet another conspiracy theory was just another fact when the president of TEPCO, Naomi Hiroshi, admitted on NHK that his company concealed the reactor meltdowns at its Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant immediately after March 2011 earthquake and tsunami. Hiroshi also confirmed that TEPCO ordered not to use the word core meltdown when referring to what happened at the crippled plant. In fact, the utility did not officially admit to the meltdowns until more than 2 years after the incident. The announcement came, more than 2 months after the incident. The announcement came after a week. A scandalous report claimed that the Japanese government and TEPCO hushed up the tragedy. According to Hiroshi, he said, "I would say it was a cover-up. It's extremely regrettable. When the incident was happening, when the meltdown was happening, and people were trying to get to the bottom of the truth, and they were called conspiracy theorists, accusing the company of covering up the scale and severity of the incident. It was extremely regrettable. Perhaps more could have been done had we had not been lied to." On to other news. There's a lot of great news today, and lots of stuff going on with the Clinton campaign and documents being released. But another curious incident happened at the Holland Tunnel near New York City. 3 heavily armed people were arrested at the Holland Tunnel with multiple loaded guns, rifles, and ballistic vests at the Holland Tunnel on Tuesday when police stopped them for driving with a vehicle with a cracked windshield, according to NBC4. And you can check out TalkingCrowsBlog.com to link to the original story. On to other news. Janet Yellen has a $200 trillion debt problem, and that was coming from Zero Hedge today. Check out the financial news, as we're dealing in trillions of dollars that have basically disappeared or been spent, or who knows what happened with these trillions of dollars that are missing. Seems like we all have to manage hundreds of dollars. We have another interesting article up on TalkingCrowsBlog.com about the zombification of American millennials. It's amazing. Nearly 4 in 10 millennials, 39%, say they interact more with their cell phones than their peers. Their peers, parents, friends, children, and coworkers, according to a survey of more than 1,000 people released Wednesday. So basically what we're dealing with is a cell phone addicted culture. It would be nice if they would be reading TalkingCrowsBlog.com. So, on to other international news. OPEC may be forcing the Venezuela Maduro into regime change. Nothing new here. There seem to be quite a few forces at work in South America, in Brazil as well with Dilma Rousseff. There's a lot of regime change. And what happens, and seems to happen, is that criminals get put in power after this quote-unquote forced regime change. So we'll see what happens there. Some transformational projects are occurring in Eurasia. Both China and Russia seem to be moving on a positive focus. They're both working on some very interesting projects. And Mr. William Engdahl from journal-neo.org contributed a wonderful story on projects going on in Eurasia. And here's his comment, his article. With so much murder and destruction of infrastructure around the world, from Syria to Ukraine to Venezuela and Nigeria, I want to highlight 2 recent projects to build new infrastructure in order to bring economic growth and prosperity to some of the least developed regions of the earth, Eurasia, the vast land between Russia and China. 2 projects have just confirmed they are going ahead. The Moscow Kazan China high-speed railway via Kazakhstan is one. The second is a major railroad bridge over the Amur River to China. They're constantly working on wonderful projects, and that's my thought on it. The Silk Road, all of these projects towards prosperity and focusing on advancing society are pretty incredible. The most important thing is to make sure that there's equal participation amongst the people. On to dangerous news for California. Blackouts loom with California in power grid emergency. All customers should expect 14 days without power. Pretty significant for California and not being broadcast on the mainstream news. The entire Los Angeles metropolitan area and most of Southern California can expect blackouts this summer. The power grid is under direct threat as a result of the unprecedented but little reported massive natural gas leaks at Alisco Canyon that was ongoing for 4 months as an intense summer heat wave sets in. Sounds like something was not told to anyone else. A massive natural gas leak in Alisco Canyon is causing the potential where California residents, Southern California residents, can expect 14 days without power. That's pretty long. Seems like someone should be telling us something. On to other news. I live in California, so that's pretty significant to me, that bit of news. That's kind of scary. Hopefully you have some canned foods and the ability to cook them. So, hopefully, and you can manage to get yourself to the beach if you have enough gas. So on to international news and the State Department, news from the State Department. According to NEO, the U.S. State Department is awaiting Hillary's reign. NEO is the New Eastern Outlook, and they're looking at Hillary Clinton as presenting favorable foreign policy to those 51 State Department representatives that asked for more war in Syria. And they suspect that the State Department is looking for more war hawk behavior. Hopefully it doesn't happen. One interesting thing, the Clinton Foundation was hacked. Not by a Russian hacker, as was reported in the media, but a guy who loves Gucci. Yes, the guy who loves Gucci hacked the DNC server and found some interesting information about the Hillary Clinton Foundation. So here's the article from Zero Hedge. Moments ago, the news wires lit up with the news that the Clinton Foundation was among the organizations breached by suspected Russian hackers and a dragnet of the U.S. political apparatus ahead of the November election. Bloomberg reports. What really happened is that earlier today, the infamous hacker Guccifer 2, who was reported previously, revealed himself as an individual who penetrated the DNC server, which was also blamed on Russian hackers, and revealed to the world the DNC's attack files on Donald Trump, among others, including Clinton megadonors, released another data dump, which he titled as the dossier on Hillary Clinton from the DNC. So basically, he is digging in to Hillary Clinton through the DNC. So not Run DMC, but the Democratic National Committee. They had a backup plan. And that was a backup plan for a backup plan if people questioned the Clinton Foundation. Here are a little selection of titles. The Clinton Foundation received donations from individuals tied to Saudi Arabia while Clinton served as Secretary of State. They obviously have ways to deflect these attacks. An embattled businesswoman with ties to the Bahrain state-owned aluminum company gave between $1 million and $5 million to the Clinton Foundation. A Venezuelan media mogul who was active in Venezuelan politics donated to the Clinton Foundation during Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State. German investor who has lobbied Chancellor Merkel's administration gave between $1 million and $5 million to the Clinton Foundation, some of which was during Mrs. Clinton's tenure at the State Department. The CEO of an Amsterdam-based energy company donated at least $1 million to the Clinton Foundation and later announced at the 2009 CGI meeting a $5 billion project to develop environmentally friendly power generation in India and China. Indian politician Amar Singh, who had donated at least $1 million to the Clinton Foundation, met with Hillary Clinton in September 2008 to discuss an Indian-U.S. civil nuclear agreement. There's more here on Zero Hedge that can be linked to from our blog, talkingcrowsblog.com, but it makes one wonder, is this quid pro quo? Seems a little bit similar. But that is up to law enforcement. So, there are some serious issues as far as the Clinton Foundation and what they received. The one thing I have to wonder about is Libya. How can anyone be promised the gold and oil, or even know about? Like, let's say Sarkozy, for example, sends an email to Hillary Clinton saying that France was interested in the oil and gold found in Libya, and they wanted to destabilize the country to have that oil and gold as well as control of the monetary system in Africa. And Clinton, as well as the State Department, go to war in Libya to remove Gaddafi and provide France with that. Is there quid pro quo there? Probably the wrong term, but it seems awfully shady. On to other news, and that's old news. It's not found today on Talking Crow's blog. But you can look up the Hillary Clinton emails, look up Clinton Sarkozy emails to find out more. So, on to the next piece of news. There's a lot of news going on about the Clinton Foundation, Trump, and all of these issues. The nice thing would be if terrorism was defeated. And one thing from Veterans today was that Libyans are now killing ISIS. It's amazing. After all of the destruction and the war in Libya, the Libyans are focused on getting the enemy and the outside threat out of their country so that they can build stability again. And so it's very positive, very good news. There's also more good news going on in Syria as the Syrian government is ousting the terrorists and they're moving in Raqqa. There have been conflicting reports, but things are going very positively in Syria. And everyone who is sane is looking forward to the defeat of ISIS, the Captagon-induced Wahhabist mercenaries that are brought and paid for by illicit oil dollars. So it'll be good riddance for them. finally, when someone wins. Israel is calling for ethnic cleansing, and that's been going on an ongoing basis, and that's kind of depressing. Israel, there are rabbis actually in the West Bank, according to the Middle Eastern Monitor, that have been wanting the settlers to poison the Palestinians' water supply to kill them. Imagine poisoning water of people intentionally. Is that human? You wouldn't do that to animals, much less people. So why would anyone ever want to do that to people and steal their land? It's basic. It's not anything lofty. There's no issues as far as Semitism. Semites are Palestinians, Israelis, the people who were originally on that land. Being anti-genocide is what we must be, and no one has the right to call for ethnic cleansing. The sad part is that they potentially were ethnically cleansed, allegedly. I mean, there was a definite cleansing of the Orthodox Jews and like the people, the middle and lower Jews. And the sad part about it is in the United States, and you can look at the book by Edwin Black about the Havara Pact, the transfer agreement. And he talks about how the high Jews prevented the middle and lower Jews from protesting Hitler. And they prevented the boycott, divest, and sanction of Hitler in Germany, Nazi Germany at the time, because they were afraid of the ethnic cleansing that would occur. Yet, when the people were being slaughtered, now they take full advantage and then call others anti-Semitic. I think the word Semitic needs to be thrown out because Palestinians are Semites. So there should be no genocide, no killing of people for the benefit, for stealing their land. Just straight up, you kill people, that's wrong, that's murder, that's illegal, it's a crime, and don't encourage others to do it because then you're complicit in their actions. So on to better news. It's kind of hard to find better news sometimes. Well, Donald Trump is calling for Israeli-style racial profiling, but profiling is a disaster. I don't know if we need to talk about that story. Racial profiling. In reality, please don't kill others. Don't harm others. Just work on the idea that love wins. And I think that's a good way to end this first episode of TalkingCrowsBlog.com's show, Something to Crow About. Because you know what? In the end, love wins. And that's the message. Love wins.